Welcome to an on-site episode of Split the Difference here at StellarCon 2021. I'm your host, Jesse. Today I have with me
Seth
and Nick Wolf. And today we are talking about Rollerball, the original film from 1975, directed by Norman Jewison, I think that's how you pronounce his name, versus the 2002 remake directed by John McTiernan. So, I had heard of Rollerball. I think there was a game that came out as well. I think I played that way back in the day. I'd seen the ending of the movie, but I had no context for it, so I didn't know what I was getting into. And I genuinely really like the original film. Really, really like this original film. What'd you guys think, Nick?
Yeah, I first time I heard about the movie, either one, but watching it like just this week is like, hey, it was it was fun. I like the rollerball sport of it all. I really enjoyed seeing James Caan. Like that's just a guy who can just like speak so quietly but carry so much weight with everything he says.
Yeah. Right, yeah. What'd you think, Seth?
I had a good time with it. I have my issues with it.
It's fair. It's not a perfect movie.
No, I had a great time. I think I had the best time going back over the critical reviews of it, though, because basically any negative take was like, oh, this is unrealistic. Corporations taking over the world.
Oh, sure, it's unrealistic.
And here we are in 2021. And
yeah.
Rollerball seems inevitable.
Yeah. It is funny how they mentioned the corporate wars, and I'm just like, didn't we also have one of those?
Aren't we in one of those right now?
We're kind of in one of those. Disney's buying everything. Yeah. The general premise is James Caan's character, Jonathan E., never even says what his actual last name is, just E. Basically, he is the best player in the sport of rollerball. Essentially, you're in a giant roulette wheel, and a ball shoots out around it, and a catcher catches it, and your job is to go around the arena one time and throw the ball into a pit and to score a point for your team. The twist is you have people trying to beat the crap out of you and even kill you on your way to getting to the pit. So the entirety of the sport is they're trying to make the viewership go up by making it more violent. It's like American football, basically, or hockey, letting the fights just break out and just saying the hell with it. It's fun. So the actual film itself, it looks great. The director of cinematography was Douglas Slocum, who did the first 3 Indiana Jones movies.
Yeah.
So I really like the look of this. Like, did it surprise any of you how active and how action-oriented the camera was in the first 20 minutes of this movie?
Oh. And the amount that it would just like linger on people too.
Mm-hmm.
Like it wasn't quick editing. It was like, no, this is a world that we're showing you.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that aspect for sure.
Yeah.
What about you, Nick?
We made a made up sport, but we're gonna show you how it feels to play in the sport.
Right. Yeah.
How it really feels. It's clearly painful. And I believe the interview with the director, Norman Jewison, said, we want to make a film about violence that does not celebrate violence.
Yeah.
Because you don't see like a lot of the really massive trauma. A lot of it is implied off screen, or you're seeing the aftermath of it. So it's really brutal and really graphic, but it's kind of like Pulp Fiction or Reservoir Dogs, where you're not seeing a lot of the violence.
Yeah.
It's mostly implied, which makes it way more graphic. Yeah.
The fact that the movie kind of forces you to imagine being run over by a motorcycle.
Oh.
It cuts away just before it happens,
Yes.
but in your head you go, oh.
It's brutal. It's very brutal. And the people that run the rollerball game, they're trying to force Jonathan to quit, because something that's in the movie is the idea of the individual versus the collective.
Yeah.
This sort of self-made man that everyone looks up to as like this great symbol of aspiration. But corporations don't like that because it basically implies, oh, anyone could do this. Like anyone could, if somebody follows behind this individual, it could really damage our corporate enterprise. I don't know if it totally works. I don't know if it completely works, because we have people like that in every sport. Like we have like these major players that everyone knows, like, I don't know, pick a sport, like Michael Jordan,
LeBron James,
Wayne Gretzky. Like there's all these people that people rally behind, like they're really good at what they do.
Yeah.
I don't know if the idea of putting politics in this movie necessarily works, but it's a nice try.
Yeah.
It worked for me. I think especially in the middle of the movie when Jonathan goes off to the corporate party and he's talking to corporate evil man.
Yeah.
And the rest of them go outside to literally burn trees. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
I know who writers who use subtext, and they're all cowards.
Yeah. And I got it reminded me a bit of you guys ever seen the film Any Given Sunday by Oliver Stone?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they would intercut in order to further the impact of the edit. They would cut in like images of like storm fronts like in the middle of a person's argument, so that way it looks like that's how it feels.
Yeah.
Visually it makes no sense with the scene, but emotionally it has more brutal impact.
Right.
Like the intercut of Jonathan talking to the head of the corporation and intercutting that with the trees being destroyed and just like the faster edits and the harder edits, it just, the tension in the room continues to grow. It's just that very solid editing in this film.
Yeah.
Yeah, really good stuff. And and it's a really kind of grim, somewhat dour film. What's surprising is that it's about the sport of rollerball. They only play the game 3 times?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of people just kind of just sitting in rooms talking, but it's very fascinating to watch. Although I will say Jonathan himself is a little on the flat side.
So I've never fully understood the phrase Johnny All-America until this movie.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh, that he's playing Johnny All-America. He's the guy that's pretty smart, really good at sports, gets this cavalcade of women running through his life that I think the corporation send to him. Is that what
they send him women because the person that's at the head of the corporation wanted his wife for himself. So instead, they try to supplement other women for him.
Right.
But he still wants the person that was his wife.
And he's not totally opposed to that idea either, it seems.
Not totally opposed to it, but he's still... It's not bringing him any joy to be with anybody else. Yeah. So, what did you think of the Jonathan character, Nick?
Well, you say he's a little flat, but I guess that really didn't bother me. I've always been a proponent that if you got great actors who know how to create a character with just a look or something like that, it kind of forgives a lot of stuff. And I just felt that all the way with James Caan. Just like he's reacting, but like he kind of, his arc is flat, but it's not really him that has to change. It's him that has to show
things.
some time.
Yeah.
Enforce some kind of change on the world by not kowtowing to the corporations.
Yeah.
Another thing I want to talk about was the music. What did you guys think of the use of the Phantom of the Opera music? What do you think?
So I'm a sucker for classical music over action.
Yes,
the
so
scene
am I.
in Mad Max Fury Road when they go into the sandstorm and it's playing Valhalla, Enter of the Valkyrie. Killer. So when the movie opens on that, like this classical composure with this violent sport, I was like, oh, I know what this movie's going to be now.
Yep.
Never seen it before. This is my first watch for both of them. I knew.
Yeah, it's. I wish there was a lot more to talk about, but it really is kind of a very streamlined film.
Yeah.
It's very efficiently made, looks great. If there's anything I'd say is like a big negative, it's that the Jonathan character is a little on the flat side for me.
Yeah.
And what was your main issue with the film, Seth?
Ending on a freeze frame.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
A blurry
Yeah.
Like they couldn't even cut it like out of the motion. It was like mid-motion, blurry James Caan freeze frame, and I was like, you can't show me like people in the stands erupting into a riot or. Okay, well, I guess that's how we're ending the movie.
I agree. The bad freeze frame is a terrible way to end your movie. It doesn't look good. Yeah, I would agree. What was the other big negative you had there, Seth?
So I think if I had to like measure what the movie was saying versus its presentation, it's saying a lot, and it's a lot of stuff that I like in a futuristic world with capitalism at the top, and it's a system that needs to be broken through this violent sport, and like it's saying a lot of really cool things. There's no humor to it at all.
Yeah.
It's not satire.
Yeah.
It is literalism.
Yeah.
And I think a satirical take would have
helped it.
Yeah, at least an injection of satirism would have helped it be like,
Yeah.
hey, this is a joke, right? Like, you understand.
Yeah, the problem.
We don't want this to happen.
The problem is, you look at the world now. It happens. The bad guys won.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
that's
that was a big part of 70s films. Was like the Death Race 2000 that
Yeah.
came out a couple years prior. The brutalism of that's presented. We are laughing at it because it's kind of funny now, but like it was presented seriously.
Yeah.
That little bit of dissonance, I think, was the only thing that threw me. Plot-wise, I'm on board for the whole plot, the execution, all the way up through like Jonathan being the last man standing against the other two.
Yeah.
And it's the 70s. I don't know how this movie's going to end. Sometimes they just kill the hero.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had no idea.
It was a dark time. It's very much a response to things like Vietnam.
Yeah.
You have like just violence is on television all the time, and you have like the war is like people are going for viewership numbers now. It's like,
well, like the irony of I fought in Vietnam to come home and die in like a drugstore shootout or something.
Yeah.
It's like that kind
yeah,
of feeling.
I fought for that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Nick, what about you? What were some negatives you had with the film?
Like you said, there's no humor. It's a very dry movie.
Yeah.
I'm already not the biggest fan of this kind of dystopian movie because I kind of get what they're saying. It's like I've heard it before.
It's
but
very obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very much inspired by 1984, Brave New World. Like they're giving out. They have those little packets of drugs that they have, and they're passing them around. Like clearly inspired by Aldous Huxley's Brave New World. People are numbing themselves with drugs and sex in order to not think about the fact that the corporation is fucking them over every day. Like it's, and then they also had like this television program, which is basically, it's sort of like making them hungry for violence.
Yeah.
They're manipulating the populace to keep themselves in power. Like,
can I talk about those TV set designs for a minute?
Oh yeah, the telescreens,
the multi-screen, one big one, three on top. I love that was like the 70s mindset of like people will get more TVs when now it's like no, we're just putting more things into one screen.
Oh
Sorry.
jeez.
I love the 70s interpretation of a Zoom call near the very end.
Oh yeah. Oh
love it.
Yeah.
Also, we say that it's a very dry movie. The one bit that I thought was maybe satire was at the very beginning when, like, Jonathan E. is having dinner with his like coach Cletus.
Yeah.
Like and Cletus talking about. I remember when I was younger, my parents would talk about when there were other sports like the Super Bowl or the World Cup. That's like.
Those sports are gone now. Yeah.
The distant past where those went away for rollerball.
Yeah. Oh, can I talk about one thing that really kind of bothered me?
Sure.
So you remember when Cletus gets that woman at the corporate party and they go upstairs and they clearly have sex?
Yeah.
You then see her down on the patio outside, not watching the clip, the highlight reel of John's kills in the ring. She's like out on the balcony, like crying. And I'm like, did Cletus rape her?
Yeah,
It's very implied.
I don't know.
I don't know. That was just one thing I was like, it's never followed up on. It's never examined at all. It just kind of is there.
It's one of those things where, like, I didn't live through the 70s.
Yeah.
I don't have the lens to watch things from the 70s in the mindset that they might be thinking it would be presented. So I don't know if, like, was that a just thing that was people are aware of at the time that was just thrown into the movie that is weird now? It just didn't age well. There were a few decisions within the movie. The scene where they have the Japanese coach come in to teach them Hapkido,
Oh, yeah.
and Moon Pie just goes hard in the paint in, like, not quite racism, but like
Leaning in that direction. It was 75. I got to let a little bit slide.
Right. It was that kind of stuff that, like, I'm sure in the 70s that scene would have played differently than it does now, where I'm like, yeah, so maybe just shut up and listen to the guy that's saving your life?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's that scene, and then later the actual rollerball match in Japan where the Japanese team is all in yellow outfits. It's like,
And they execute Moon Pie.
Ugh.
Just two guys on either side.
Blam, right through the back of the head.
But and then that turns into the weird existential side of the movie. The line that stuck out to me was when James Caan went to visit Moon Pie in the hospital before the last game, and he says something along the lines of, "You're a god now," or like maybe you're a god now, because he's separated off from this corporate world that he's
escaped into his own mind.
That's a deep line for a violent action movie.
Yeah. So the original, we all agree, is good. It's not perfect. It's got issues, but would you watch it again, Seth?
Yeah, I would watch it again.
Yeah. What about you, Nick?
At 2 hours long, it runs a little bit more for me. Like, we didn't even talk about the computer scene.
Oh yeah, the computer scene that's supposed to know everything and forgot about the 13th century.
Because that deletes Dante's Inferno.
Yeah, Dante's Inferno, which is basically what the character is going through, and Dante's Inferno is shaped like a circle.
Yep.
The ring of Rollerball is shaped like a circle. Metaphors.
It's funny that a movie with the title Rollerball, which explains everything you need to know, has all these like extra things added into it underneath that like add to, I guess, because it could be presented straightforward as just a sport about money that people need to escape from. We'll talk about the remake in a second.
Yeah. It could have been just, it's just a sports movie, a fake sports movie. But they went a little deeper. They put in some effort. It's a good script. It's got some issues, character problems, but visually it looks great. Action-wise, it's good. It's a little long, but it's fine. So, original is good. So let's talk about the remake, guys.
All right, real quick. So before I watched the remake, I made a list of elements I thought were going to be in the remake, and I wanted to see how I measure up, so I'm going to read it off now.
Read them off.
Neon color scheme, Limp Bizkit, little to no social commentary, love triangle, rival on opposing team, dated racism, dated homophobia, a message about how teamwork is important, / the love of the game, characters remembering sports before Rollerball. Do you want to know what was not on that list?
What?
Nighttime action scenes shot entirely in night vision.
Okay, so I want to make this clear. The remake, directed by John McTiernan, director of Die Hard and Predator. This film has a 3% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it totally earned it. Yeah. What were you gonna say, Seth?
Was it done to save budget? Did they
I don't know.
$70 million.
$70 million. The first John Wick cost $35 million. Like, what? What? How?
I'm going to sit on the outs right now. I had a really good time with it.
Jesus Christ. No.
In that it's a very, very bad movie.
Oh,
but
it's so bad.
Very fun.
What the hell is your definition of fun?
When it got to that night vision scene, I was like, oh, this is a stylistic choice. I guess we'll cut to like regular footage. We're going to cut to regular footage eventually. Please tell me we're cutting to...
No.
Oh, Jesus
It is
Christ.
15 minutes of night vision footage of fucking Chris Klein, who I hate with a passion, and LL Cool J trying to get across the border into another country, and it's horrible.
When Chris Klein first showed up in the movie, I thought, with the accent he's going with, I was like, so this is the answer to what if Keanu Reeves were unlikable.
Yeah. They were trying to make Chris Klein a thing for the longest time.
Stop trying to make Chris Klein a thing. He's not going to be a thing.
What, you didn't like him in Street Fighter, Legend of Chun-Li?
Oh, you didn't like him in American Pie?
Oh, God. I hate this guy so much.
I don't think you're doing that scene justice, because it wasn't just that it's a 15-minute night vision scene.
Yeah.
It was a 15-minute night vision scene shot in like 340p.
It is grainy as shit. And the rest of the movie is film.
Yeah.
It stands out hard. I do not know why they did this.
Like, even the action cutaways of a Jeep rolling down a hill, they were like, oh yeah, let's shoot that in night vision too. Why?
Oh my God! It's got to be like because apparently there was massive conflicts with John McTiernan and the producers on this movie about how they were going to make the movie, film it, and I think maybe McTiernan may have like quit or just didn't show up or something like that. I don't know what happened. All I know is that this is the film and where John McTiernan was apparently wiretapping Charles Roven, the producer. For those who don't know, John McTiernan went to prison. He recently got out. He was wiretapping Charles Roven and also his ex-wife, I think, and trying to figure out like secrets or something like that. He thought that the producers were trying to fuck him over. And he got busted after his next film, which was Basic in 2005. That was his last movie, and it's still the last movie he's ever done.
Yeah.
He's in massive debt now. And he served time in prison. I think maybe he just kind of given up. Because it was supposed to be, he wanted to make a film that was more in line with the original film, and they just wanted to make a dated sports action film.
It's what's really awful is that I can kind of see the movie. I think I can see the movie John McTiernan was trying to make because there's lines like there's these bits where Jonathan is trying to rehydrate on the court. It's like, oh, drink it from again. Show the label to the camera.
Yeah.
Or when they're explaining the rules of rollerball, and then there's one guy's like, yes, the rules are so simple, just as simple as wearing a lifestyle condom before having sex.
Yeah. There's tons of good ideas. And I can see the shift that they were aiming for.
There is something buried in this mess.
Absolutely. However, the presentation being, I can see the boardroom meeting where some old fart with a stogie is just like, the MTV generation, let's get the hell out of it. Put a bunch of commercials in there. That's what the kids want.
It is filmed like an MTV music video. They changed the design of the course. It's no longer a circle. Now it's a figure eight, so it's immensely confusing. The action,
like diving boards in the middle of it.
That was weird. Like you have to get up on the diving board and then jump off of it and throw it while you're in midair. Like you guys have made this immensely complicated. It was so simple the last time. Like the circle is a metaphor.
Yeah.
The figure eight means nothing. Like
unless I would have forgiven the figure eight if it were like more snake themed, so it's like an Ouroboros.
Sure. Yeah, if it was like
or
that.
If it like overpassed itself. You know what I mean? A figure
it goes up and around and back down to itself. Like what are those things called? An Escher painting?
Yeah.
If it looked like that would make
like
more
a go-kart track. Basically.
Like a go-kart track. It would make more sense. But as I'm looking at it, I'm just like, visually the film is chopped to hell. The editing is. This is possibly one of the worst edited films I've ever watched.
Which is shocking because it's editor something Wright. Academy Award nominated editor.
Is it Adam Wright?
No, I think it's John Wright.
Yeah, John Wright. I'm going to confirm that right now.
I know it's Wright. W-R-I-G-H-T.
John Wright and Robert K. Lambert.
Yeah, these are Academy Award-winning editors, and the dubbing. Did you guys
Oh, my fucking God. The dubbing.
Oh, yeah.
The dubbing is so bad. Nothing matches.
I remember during the night vision scene where the Russian military is coming after them. It's like, it's like they brought the whole Russian army.
Uh-huh.
A bunch of F words were edited
this
out.
was clearly shot for an R, edited down to a PG-13. Jean Reno says fuck at one point, and it gets edited out.
Yep.
And they don't use another shot. You clearly just see his mouth say fuck, but they don't use it.
The best one is when they're in the club and they dub LL Cool J off screen with a white guy's voice to start the line, and then it turns into LL Cool J once he's in shot. I was like, is this real? This is real?
God, it's so bad.
This is why it was fun for me, though, because as I'm seeing that stuff, I'm like...
You're watching a train wreck happen in front of you.
Yep.
It's bad. And they move it to like an Eastern European nation because, hey, they got tax breaks to film there.
Kazakhstan,
yeah. But it's so weird. Like, they changed the sport to being like, is it an underground sport now?
Yeah, good
It's
question.
never clear. Because apparently the NFL and the NHL are still going.
Right. Well,
but then that means that rollerball isn't that popular?
Well, so from what I gathered, it's very popular overseas, and they're trying to get the American audience in because that gives them reputation. So that's why they have the American MC. That's why they bring in
Okay.
LL Cool J and Chris Klein. That's their reason for bringing the Americans in.
None of this is very clear within the narrative.
No. And so then later when Jean Reno's pulling the gun on the guy who put the show on like the hundreds of channels instead
Yeah.
of down in the top 5.
Yeah.
So I think the point that they were going for was they're trying to get into the American like mainstream cable market like MTV.
Okay.
That's all.
I
can't help you from there.
Oh my God. I really struggled to finish this one. I had to stop midway through because I'm like, I can't do this. I really had a hard time finishing this one. I know you had a good time. Nick, what was your first impression going into the first scene? Where what is that called? Their escape? Was it luge boarding? Where you're basically it's like luge down a street on a giant skateboard.
Yeah.
In the middle of like San Francisco.
So incoming deep cut, that first opening scene, which I'm convinced was a reshoot because Jonathan mentions that, oh, I'm going to be playing for the NHL anytime now, and then it cuts through the rollerball. It's like a star athlete from the NHL. It's like, when did that happen? There was
Apparently we missed a whole bunch of stuff.
But yeah, watching that first scene with the music choices and the camera cutting, I wrote down, this is so obnoxious, it's making me miss moto surfing from Surf Ninjas.
They probably did that because the movie is only 90 minutes. It's a half hour shorter. They probably shot that because, the movie's too short. Yeah. We got to add something.
Got to open on an action sequence.
Yeah, even though if you cut that entire action sequence out of the movie, it doesn't affect the movie. It changes literally nothing.
I would argue that his entrance in the rollerball shots 4 months later is a better first appearance on film than the opening of the movie.
Yes!
Which is like, he's in the back of a van and they're like, it's $250, you still want it or not? And his first line's like, yeah, I still want it.
Well, also, like, the entire opening where he's going down the street and the cops are after him, and then LL Cool J just pulls up in a Porsche, picks him up. Apparently he knew where he was going to be the entirety of the day, even though this is an underground racing thing that he's doing. He just happened to be there.
Yeah.
And just says, hey, join me in Rollerball. Like, what? You couldn't call him?
Is this the call to action?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Like, oh, my God. The script is bad. The editing's terrible. Okay, can we talk about, like, the graphics and the visual effects of this movie?
Sure.
Yeah.
Which ones?
just what the fuck? It just, oh, God. Like simple things. Like, this film fetishizes the violence.
Oh, yeah.
This is the exact opposite of what the original is. This is basically like, oh, yeah, we love the violence. Let's show it. And that, I think, is the problem that John McTiernan was trying to not show it.
Yeah.
And the studio was like, no, show it. It's the opposite message of the original film. And it looks terrible because there's so many points where people are supposed to be getting hit, but it doesn't look like they actually connect.
Yeah.
Because the editing is bad. Or when the guy gets run over by the motorcycle, he's clearly wearing a pad. You can see it. Like, simple things that a skilled director like John McTiernan knows, oh, don't do that, but he was forced to do it by a studio executive.
Yeah.
One bit I have to believe was a John McTiernan bit is in, like, the first Rollerball scene where the one guy, I think his name was Toto, like, his helmet gets ripped off and he gets knocked out.
Yeah.
But the broadcast only shows it like a sports blooper. It's like, oh, guy's not wearing his helmet. Oh, that's the brakes.
Yeah, and the first kill that happens on the track, it was Toto with his helmet cut. Like, oh yeah, the cameras picked him up. He was off on his own the entire time, so he was set up. Like, there's a whole fucking audience watching you in the stands. Like, you didn't think that was the case?
Right.
Like, how did you just now tell?
I want to be sensitive to this, but I felt like the movie was trying to tell me that Togo was maybe a little, like, mentally disabled.
Yeah, they kind of lean in that a little bit.
And to make him the kill that, like, sets off the events of the movie.
It's bad taste.
There's probably not a term for it, but it felt like fridging to me.
Yeah,
it
it's
felt
like
a version of fridging.
Yeah, I felt like that. This movie's not good. And Rebecca Romaine Stamos, she was still married to John Stamos at the time. She's really trying to do that Eastern European accent. Not really doing it very well. Oh, it's bad. And she's all terrified that her face is all kind of messed up. And she's like, oh, my face is terrible. Like, you have one little scar. Like, that's not that bad.
Chris Klein is like, oh, you put on such a good game. but whenever you're in public, you always turn your left side to people. It just made me think of Zoolander and how he can't turn left.
He can't turn left.
Not an MB Turner.
Oh no! Oh god! Is there anything redeeming in this entire movie?
Man.
I would say no. Dig deep.
Yeah, I'm trying. On almost every level, the movie feels like it fails.
Yeah.
I pointed out the bits I like, but the movie is just so aggressively obnoxious.
Yes. Oh god. The Limp Bizkit music. Rob Zombie. Oh yeah.
That's the best part. Slipknot's in the middle of the movie.
Slipknot is in the middle of the movie, playing in the middle of the track. Oh yeah. That's so fucking cool. You want to
Best
date
part
your
of the-
movie? This came out in 2002, which was when the first Resident Evil, I believe, came out, and Slipknot music plays in that as well.
I don't know who their manager was at the time, but they were in a lot of stuff in
Yeah.
the early 2000s as far as movies go. Their
Yeah.
manager was like, "We're gonna make you guys a thing, I promise."
It's it's not good. It's and also another thing is that you said that the original film you hate the fact that it ends on a freeze frame. How does this movie end?
Same fucking way.
It's a freeze frame of Chris Klein looking very confused. Yeah.
Real quick, if you want a really good comparison of how polar opposite this is to the original, in the original there is a 5 to 10 minute scene of Jonathan being reunited with his wife, but it's all the setup to where he realizes that like she's
basically there to convince him to leave the sport.
Yeah, and James Caan even says, "What? Are you just my trophy to win? What happens at the end of the remake?"
She is the trophy to win.
Yep.
Yep. The woman in the movie is a literal trophy.
Yeah.
Fuck this movie.
She even gets sidelined.
Oh my god, she has like no personality in this movie. Nothing. It's bad, and there's very little I'd say is redeeming in this movie. This is probably the worst film we've covered on this show.
Oh, really?
I mean, 47 Ronin was pretty bad, but
No, I'd watch that before I watched the remake of Rollerball.
fair. But I really think this is the worst thing we've ever watched.
I'd have to go back through. You definitely top 5.
Yeah,
if not
definitely top
3.
5. But
What about the Psycho remake? Or is that fun?
there's an interesting
trash?
idea in
Yeah,
that.
just for the artistic oddity that is, I
Yeah,
would revisit that one.
yeah.
I will. No, I won't even say that. I would get very drunk and watch Rollerball remake again. That's about it.
Fair. Yeah, this is a good drunk watch if you want to shit talk it with your friends. But
Yeah.
this is basically the beginning of the decline for John McTiernan. There's not much redeeming in it. The editing's bad. The acting's bad. The script is bad. It has a case of identity crisis the entire way through. It's you just watch the original and be happy.
I would show my friends that night vision scene just so I could tell them this was shot for a $70 million movie.
Did they just put a night vision lens on another camera?
I have no idea.
Was that just how bad night vision was in 2002?
I think it was that bad. It was just that bad.
I feel like I could have done the same scene with a GoPro and done better.
Well, this is 2002. There were no GoPros.
That's true.
So
I think if there's one redeeming thing to the remake, it does have a style. Like
it's an identifiable style. With
Yeah.
MTV generation, I mean, the Crank movies also had that style, but the Crank movies, there's actually something worthwhile in there.
I'm not saying that I wouldn't, but I definitely would consider another Rollerball remake with the guys that did Crank.
I can see it.
Their version of Rollerball, that could be super fun.
That'd be fun. Yeah, that'd be fun. Either that or go in the opposite direction and let A24 do it. You know?
True.
Let's let David Lowery doing the Green Knight. Let's let him do it. See what comes out the other side. Yeah.
Ari Aster's Rollerball.
Oh God. I can't even imagine that.
I would watch it though. That's what's fucked up. I would watch it.
I know, but at the same time, there's that part of me that's like, is he gonna put in like some weird, twisted, fucked up incest stuff in that movie? Of course he will.
Of course.
Of course he will.
That's how you show that the corporate guys are bad.
Very true. Very true. The Old Boy movie did that for us. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so there's nothing else to talk about. The original is worth it. The remake, watch it if you're drunk. That's Seth's recommendation. I would say never watch it, but that's Seth's recommendation.
I need about 6 months to cool down, though. Like, I need about 6 months before I could ever think about it again.
Fair, very fair. So the next episode we're going to talk about is The Invisible Man. This is one that I really want to get to. Yeah. The original film
Black and white
versus the original black and white Invisible Man versus the most recent 2020 remake by Lee Whannell.
Nice.
Yes, that was one of my favorite movies of the year it came out. This last year. It was one of my favorite movies.
Did you see it in theaters?
I did see it in theaters.
Ah, nice.
It was fantastic.
I missed it in theaters. I had to do streaming.
Oh, that sucks. That's a shame. They might do another showing at some point. We'll see.
I'd go see it.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys. Appreciate it. We're here at StellarCon 2021. This was fun. This was a good time. We had to, cut around some audio issues every now and again. But overall, I think this was a good episode. Good on-site episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll do this again someday.
Absolutely.
And with that, good night.